Hello everyone. Now we are going to see about the abnormalities related with that of uh, embryo. What we have seen, obstetrics we have divided for understanding purpose. We have divided into three parts. That is the antenatal part, internatal part, and the postnatal parts. Antenatal, again, what we know that related with that of mother and embryo or fetus. This embryo, for understanding purpose, what we see that normal and the abnormal. We have seen the normal part of it. Now we are going to continue about the abnormalities in the embryo or fetus. Why we are saying that embryo or fetus? The reason behind it, whatever the product of conception, up to the 10th weeks, the word it is used called as embryo, while after the 10th week, it is called as a fetus. That's why I use the word embryo slash fetus. So now what are the problems which can take place to the fetus? So in OPS antenatal, that is embryo or fetus, the abnormalities can be normal and abnormal. So we are going to see about this abnormal part of it. So what is the problem? First, what we should know that normal and abnormal. First, normal, what we are going to see about the fetal circulation. So the circulation of oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood, nutritive material, etc. in the fetus is termed as fetal circulation. So if we see in this, so anatomy and physiology of fetal circulation, that is what we know that in umbilical cord, there are two umbilical arteries and one umbilical vein. So remember is that umbilical arteries, all the arteries carries the oxygenated blood except with that of pulmonary arteries and the umbilical arteries. Umbilical arteries carries the deoxygenated blood, while umbilical veins carries the oxygenated blood. Again, there are another exception for this, that is the pulmonary arteries and pulmonary vein. There also carries the pulmonary arteries carries the deoxygenated blood, while pulmonary vein carries the oxygenated blood. So that is the basic function of the fetal circulation. And there are three important stunts which are present in the fetal life, that ductus venosus, ductus arteriosus, and the foramen ovale. So ductus venosus, what is it? It connects the umbilical vein to the inferior vena cava. That is from the word venosus. That is a communication between the two veins. And which veins? That is umbilical vein and the inferior vena cava. Then ductus arteriosus, that is, it connects the main pulmonary artery to the aorta, and that is arteriosus, that is connection between the two arteries, that is the pulmonary artery and the aorta. And the foramen ovale, that is anatomic opening between the right and the left atriums. That is three basic stunts which are present in the fetal life. So if you see in this diagram, this whatever this blood which is coming from the mother to the from the placenta via umbilical cord, and it carries the this is the umbilical vein, and this is the veins which is present. That's the if connection it is present in between these two veins. So that is called as a ductus, as what we have seen, that is the umbilical vein and the inferior vena cava. So that is ductus venosus, that what we see in it, and the ductus arteriosus, that is the connection between the aorta, that is this aorta, and that is connection between the main pulmonary artery and the aorta, that is ductus arteriosus. And then there is a shunt between this which is normally not present. What we see in this, that is connection between right atrium and the left atrium, that is called as a foramen ovale. So that is the characteristics which are present in the fetal circulation. And how does the blood move in the fetal circulation? So via umbilical vein carries the oxygenated blood and nutrients from the placenta to the fetus, and blood continues to travel from the inferior vena cava to the ductus venosus. So this is, so from here the oxygenated blood comes over from the placenta and it enters into the ductus venosus, and from the inferior vena cava it goes upside to it. So that is the way how it flows. And ductus venosus, it allows the oxygenated blood from the placenta to bypass the liver and puts blood into the hepatic veins. The small amount of blood routed to growing liver, increased blood flow leads to the large liver in the newborns. That is the characteristics of the fetal circulation. Then next, what we are going to see about the abnormalities in the fetus. So this is normal, then abnormalities. So what are the problems to the fetus can take place? So it is the anencephaly. That is what we know, that cephaly, that is stands for related with that of brain. And it's a birth defect in which the brain and bones of the skull don't form completely while the baby is in the womb, that is in the uterus. And as a result, whatever the baby's brain, that is particularly of the cerebellum, not developed properly or developed minimally. And the cerebellum is the part of the brain primarily responsible for thinking, movement, and senses, and it including that of touch, vision, and hearing. So, but obvious, what we know that if there is a problem to that of cerebellum, so it is going to affect all these characteristics, uh, senses of the are affected. And anencephaly is considered a neural tube defect. So most of the times it does not develop properly. So it is leads to the most of the times can be MTB can be done. MTB has to be done. Then neural tube defect, that is neural tube defect does not form right, and there is a baby's brain or spine is damaged. So what happens within the first few weeks of pregnancy, often before a woman know that she is pregnant, can cause the lifelong disability or it can cause a death. So this is the what is the C, what is this is the anencephaly. And this is the what is spina bifida, that is what we say that. So many NTDs up to 70% can be prevented by getting enough vitamin B9, that is folic acid, every day, starting before a woman gets pregnant. So that is the precautionary measures that what we can do it to avoid this anencephaly. That is, the female who want to become a pregnant, she can start with that of vitamin B9 or folic acid. So that is the preventive measures that what we can think about. And the next one is that is called as the IUGR. IUGR stands for intrauterine growth restriction or retardation, and what it is said to be present in those babies whose birth weight is below that of the 10 percentile of the average of gestational age. So if whatever the normal, if it is less than 10 percentile, then it is called as a IUGR. So if you say, it is commonly seen in the preterm baby or postterm babies. See, this is the normal one, and this is the preterm babies. So disparity of it's more than or equal to 2 weeks. That is mild. Again, it is divided into two: mild variety and the severe variety, symmetrical, asymmetrical. But first one is mild IUGR and the severe IUGR. That is disparity if it is equal to or more than 2 weeks, and severe variety if disparity is more equal to or more than 4 weeks. What is the meaning of it? So if the pregnancy is of some 28 weeks, so that whatever the parameters should be matched with that of that 28 weeks pregnancy. If it is less than that, 2 weeks, then it is called if the pregnancy duration it is about some 28 weeks, and if the fetus shows this whatever the growth up to something related weeks of 27 or 26, then it is called as a mild variety. Or what is the another variety, severe? That is practically if the patient says that he amenorrhea for some about 28 weeks, and whatever the growth of the fetus it is about some 24 weeks, so this is called as a severe variety of IUGR. So that is in short concept of whatever the normal and abnormalities to the fetus during the pregnancy, that is related with that abnormal and abnormality of the embryo or fetus. Thank you.